Hello lovelies, welcome back to my channel. So today I'll be talking about Marie Antoinette and her famous diet. So let's go into a little brief history of Marie Antoinette. So Marie Antoinette was born in Vienna, Austria in 1755, and she married the future French king Louis XVI when she was just 15 years old. The young couple soon came to symbolize the excessive lifestyle of the French monarchy, and Marie Antoinette herself became the target of a great deal of vicious gossip. After the outbreak of the French Revolution in 1789, the royal family was forced to live under the supervision of revolutionary authorities. In 1793, the king was executed, then Marie Antoinette was arrested and tried for crimes against the French Republic. She was convicted and sentenced to the guillotine on October 16, 1793. Marie Antoinette was best known for her iconic quote, "Let them eat cake," which actually is probably not even something she really said. Still, Marie Antoinette was known for being glamorous, frivolous, and completely out of touch with what was going on in France and around her. I became fascinated with Marie Antoinette once I saw the Sofia Coppola movie with Kirsten Dunst, and I just love watching that movie. It's just pure eye candy, filmed at Versailles. I mean, I know that it's not really realistic and it's kind of just for fun, but it's just a fun movie to escape to and watch, and then every time I watch it I just want to like eat cake and lay around all day. But I just find it a really fun movie to watch. So Marie Antoinette threw lavish parties and she had extravagant taste in clothing and accessories. She was completely preoccupied with material items, and she seemed to have no interest in being an actual leader, which eventually led to her ultimate beheading. It's no wonder that people remain curious about Marie Antoinette's life. Let's dive into Marie Antoinette's diet. So I have this book called the Marie Antoinette Diet, and it says eat cake and still lose weight. It says to embrace the health benefits of the 18th century diet, no calorie counting. And I read this book and it's really interesting to read, and you learn all about what Marie Antoinette ate and her diet. So I highly recommend picking up this book if you're curious about Marie Antoinette. So I'm going to go into her diet. So based on the movie, you think that she literally eats cake all day and candy and nothing else. So she did like sweets for breakfast, and that's even included what she drank for breakfast. So in the book, the Marie Antoinette Diet, there's a quote saying that the queen loved to start her day with pastry, with coffee, or rich hot chocolate, which sounds pretty French. So she loved croissants for breakfast, chocolate croissants, she loved hot chocolate, so just decadent things like that. There's other accounts that she loved the bread from her hometown in Vienna, Austria, and her first chambermaid, Madame Capin. The only thing she was particularly fond were her morning coffee and a sort of bread to which she had grown accustomed to during her childhood in Vienna. The sort of bread is actually croissants, which originated in Vienna, not France. And the queen is actually credited for making this bread popular in France. And even though she ate sweets for breakfast, like croissants and a sweet hot chocolate, her main meal was her lunch. So that is the biggest meal of her day, and that's written about in the book as well, describing that Marie Antoinette had her biggest meal at lunch and then a sweet breakfast, and then I'll get into what she had for dinner later. It's not particularly surprising to hear that Marie Antoinette enjoyed her main meal during the middle of the day. At lunch, after all, that seems like a very European way to eat. And the queen would eat a meal of meat or fish with vegetables during lunch each day. Wheeler, the author of the Marie Antoinette Diet, also wrote that Marie Antoinette snacked throughout the day on foods that many people would consider meals or at least side dishes. These included things like cheese, macaroni, vegetables cooked in cream. She definitely wasn't going around eating chips or anything pedestrian like that. So for dinner, the queen was way ahead of her time. She was having bone broth for dinner, which is super low calorie and healthy. In her book, Wheeler discusses how Marie Antoinette managed to keep a slim figure despite her affinity for sweets. Wheeler believes that's partly due to Marie Antoinette's light dinner. She would often eat just a broth made of leftover bones in the kitchen with vegetables and either chicken or guinea fowl. According to reports, Marie Antoinette did not actually like the extravagant foods that were served during public meals. She mostly liked her simple broth with vegetables, as well as boiled or roasted white meat, especially chicken or fowl. cooked vegetables, and simple soups. Not as exciting as one would imagine a queen with her reputation would have. Marie Antoinette was known for being quite haughty, which is why it's not exactly surprising to hear that she may have snubbed her food whenever she was in the company of others. Marie Antoinette's lady-in-waiting wrote in her memoirs that the king ate with a hearty appetite, but the queen did not remove her gloves, nor did she unfold her napkin, in which she was very ill-advised. The queen supposedly did not touch her food, which was seen as a contempt for the company there. And if you've seen Sofia Coppola's Marie Antoinette, you would think that Marie Antoinette spent most of her time sipping expensive champagne, but reports say that she did not drink alcohol very much at all, if ever. She preferred lemonade or special imported water. She would often dip small biscuits in her water or lemonade. She had an obsession with crystallized fruits, wafers, and petit fours, and she would eat these things for desserts or offer them to guests. And the queen was a huge fan of chocolate, and she loved hot chocolate. And according to reports, she had her own chocolatier at Versailles to supply her with exactly what she wanted. She particularly loved liquid chocolate, which she drank with whipped cream and sometimes orange blossom. So Marie Antoinette loved oranges, and luckily there was an orange grove at Versailles, which you can still visit today. When Marie Antoinette lived there, the oranges were used to make orange blossom water. Supposedly the queen liked to drink it for her nerves, and it is used as a beauty product. So I'm really curious to try orange blossom water. I've never had this. I wonder if you could buy the orange blossom essence. I'm gonna look into it. I'm really curious now. I've tried rose water and it's quite good, which I kind of want to make some rose ice cubes. I'm just thinking of it right now, but now I'm really curious about the orange blossom water. Well, obviously I stated before that the Sofia Coppola's film isn't necessarily historically accurate, and according to the old foodie, the cakes are not historically accurate in the movie. So back when Marie Antoinette was in power, the cakes were beaten with eggs or yeast and baked in hoops supported by paper cups and set on flat baking trays. They were not highly decorated and beautiful to look at, so they were pretty simple. So here are a few tips if you want to try the Marie Antoinette diet and if you're interested in the book. So Karen Wheeler says Marie Antoinette enjoyed a pastry with coffee or hot chocolate for breakfast, gorged on typically lavish palace cuisine, which included pate, oysters, lobster as appetizers, followed by scallops, duck, salmon, and a hare stew as a main dish, and snack throughout the day on the likes of cheese, macaroni, vegetables cooked in cream. In the Marie Antoinette movie, Wheeler observes director Sofia Coppola depicted the French queen's life as a long cake fest, gorging on macaroons and fondant-filled pastries washed down with a river of champagne. Yet somehow, despite Marie Antoinette's seemingly overwhelming calorie intake, she was able to maintain a very trim 23-inch waist. She was slim enough to wear her formal gowns without the stiff whalebone corsets, which were necessity at the French court. You're probably wondering, well, how on earth did she keep a 23-inch waist if she was gorging on pastries for breakfast and hot chocolate and sweets? Marie Antoinette's confidant and first lady-in-waiting, Madame Campman's memoir suggests that Marie Antoinette instinctively knew what 21st diet science has shown, namely that it is not what you eat, but when you eat it, Wheeler writes. Wheeler writes, and the more I looked into the Queen's diet, the more I became convinced that it held the key to the so-called French paradox. The question of how the French eat rich, fatty food, yet still manage to stay slim and avoid heart disease. The smell of Versailles, which lacked modern plumbing, most likely served as an appetite suppressant, while having to dine, dress, and undress in public may have led Marie Antoinette to also watch her weight. But it was her light dinner, typically a broth with vegetables and either chicken or fowl, and that was key to her keeping the weight off. The Marie Antoinette diet focuses on meal timing amongst other factors. Indulging on sweets with breakfast may help with curbing your appetite for them later on in the day. Eat soup, dubbed a miracle in a bowl for fat loss, either before dinner or as dinner. Only use food that is au naturel, no over-processed junk, trans fats, or vegetables or polysaturated oil. And do not drink your weight in sugar or alcohol. Although many fad diets come and go and are proven ineffective as quickly as they're claimed effective, some of Wheeler's claims actually seem useful and easily attainable. Like not eating past 8 p.m. or focusing on portion control rather than food control. The only thing that totally out is fried food, but you can still eat dessert. So I was really fascinated by this as well. My grandma used to eat cake for breakfast. I remember when I was a kid, I used to see her eating chocolate cake for breakfast, and she is German, so maybe it's more a European thing to eat cake for breakfast. So I was really fascinated by the Marie Antoinette diet just because of the movie, and I was like wondering what she ate, and I just envisioned her eating cake. So it was really interesting to see that she was into bone broth. Now I'm gonna start getting into bone broth and eating my major meals earlier in the day, and I'm gonna try to cut things off at night, like let's say 8 p.m. like it suggests in the book. Well, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you'd be willing to try the Marie Antoinette diet. All right, I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.